All right. So first, let me share my screen for a minute. Here we go. So the Commons Prize is essentially how the Trusted Seed membership is going to choose the next community for Commons Stack to work with to deploy the next Commons with a capital C. The token engineering community was the first community to use our design patterns, the cultural and technical design patterns, to launch their own Commons. And the Commons Stack team is very ready to do this with another community, help advise and guide them through deploying their Commons. So I want to just say the timeline is now different, and I think everyone here is already aware that over the weekend we detected a critical bug in the tool that we were using, and we decided the cleanest course of action was going to be to reset the votes, create another 7-day period, so basically start over. So we pushed out the extension date to the 22nd of May, so we'll have a full week of votes again. And it was a really tough decision. I feel like it was like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I hope that everyone, we're doing another outreach to all the Trusted Seed members who had voted to encourage them to reapply their votes to the community that they want to see as the next Commons. So the new timelines is this round that we're using token log for is going to run through the 15th to the 22nd. So Sunday night, EST time, midnight, this round will close. And then 3 days later, we'll start the new round on Snapshot for the winning community. So we'll have a short list of finalists from this round. And then we're going to select, or Trusted Seed will select the winning community. I just give an explanation. So on the call today, there's a bunch of us from the Commons Stack and Trusted Seed. There's Griff, of course, myself, Ivy, and Max, and Usama, and Maria. But if you have any questions about the Commons Prize specifically, please reach out to either Usama or myself. But the best place to ask any questions is on the Commons Prize channel so that everyone has the question and our answers. And I think Griff is going to be the best person to share how to vote. So walk us through who can vote and how to vote. We want to make sure that the Trusted Seed members who see this on YouTube, when they have a chance to watch it, can follow the steps and vote right away.
Yeah, thanks, Tam. Yeah, the big thing here is that we have a new token. It's called the Trust token, and we're still in the transition. We kind of sped up the transition to push it along. So if you pay dues right now, you're still getting C-Stack tokens, and we're using Trust tokens to vote. So there will be like a 24-hour delay if you're renewing dues for your Trust tokens to get topped up. But anyone who is a legal member of our Swiss association has these Trust tokens, and that's what you end up using to vote. Also, the way of voting is really interesting. It's quadratic. It's a quadratic vote that is basically the square root of the number of votes that you put on each proposal. So it's really cool because if you're sort of incentivized to vote on multiple proposals. If you vote on if you want 3 votes for grassroots economics, for instance, that'll cost you 9 tokens, 9 voting power. If you want 4 votes for precious plastic commons, that'll cost you 16 voting power. Right? And if you want 5 votes for Gravity DAO, that would cost you 25 voting power. I know this is a lot of math, but you can get, if you vote on just grassroots and precious plastic, you get 7 votes for 25 voting power, right? And if you just voted on Gravity DAO, for 5 votes, it costs you 25. So you can see right there, there's like benefits in voting on multiple. You get more say if you spread your votes out more. So, which is great, because then we don't have everyone just voting for their own, and maxing out. We really want you to vote, and it's in your best interest, if you want more voice, to vote on as many of these as possible, that will extend your voice on how the results end up. And also major praise to Wesley and Vitor and all the contributors to make this token log project successful. It's super cool. We are, one last thing. We are using XDAI, Gnosis Chain. So to be able to vote, please check your Web3 provider. You'll need to go in here and actually switch to XDAI to vote. So MetaMask, go to Gnosis Chain. And if you don't have Gnosis Chain, there's like chainlist.org is a great way to get Gnosis Chain added to MetaMask. I think that's all for me. I'll pass it back to you, Tam.
Okay, awesome. So I just want to say, I think we have the list of nominees who confirmed, and I just want to make sure I can do a roll check so we don't skip anyone. We have, hold on, we have Jeremy and Liberating Structures DAO, Nick and Unmonopolizable Therapies Commons, John with Refi DAO, Grael with to DAO, Juanca with Gravity DAO, Marco with Web3 Designers. And did I miss anyone? Is there anyone who is here and will present their nomination that I didn't say just now?
Yes, I was going to do Bread Chain.
Oh, hey, Josh, nice to see you. Okay, we would love that. Bread Chain. Okay. Okay, awesome. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cool. All right. Well, so the way we'll do this is if you have any questions, please drop your questions on the Commons Prize channel on our Discord, and that way we'll be able to ask some questions at the end. We'll go through each presentation. Each nomination will get about 4 minutes to present, so that they have the time to in person advocate for their nomination, and then we'll save all questions and answers to the end if there's time left over. You can also add questions directly to the GitHub issue. So if there is a question that you have for one of these nominations, feel free to go into the GitHub issue and drop a question in there, and that way people that are voting will be able to see all of those questions too. All right, so maybe to get us started, let us see Liberating Structures. Jeremy, do you feel ready to present? Because the floor will be yours.
I can always let it rip.
All right, so I'll just set a timer and let you know when there's about 30 seconds left.
Cool. So my name's Jeremy, and I'm here hanging out as one of many participants in this scene around liberating structures. Liberating structures are tools for shared thinking. Yeah, that's us. That's them. What to say about it? Yeah, there's some stuff. I've got a bunch of crap around on the internet. So liberating structures are here to solve a very timeless problem, and that is horrible meetings. Most meetings are horrible because they have a tendency of doing 2 things bad. Number one is they have no intention whatsoever. You just drop into a meeting, you do what you do, and you get whatever you get. And that's super unpredictable and extraordinarily unsatisfying for a lot of folks. The second thing that goes wrong in meetings is even if you overcome that initial challenge and you have some intentionality about the stuff you want to cover, like we have an agenda for this meeting, right? We know we're going to introduce a bunch of commons, and we're going to do some Q&A and stuff like that. But in most meetings, you have a lot of different agenda items, but we don't make a particular choice about how we want to treat each of those agenda items. Like topic A and topic B are maybe in totally different domains and require totally different ways of thinking to accomplish those. And we probably pick the open, unstructured group discussion for just about everything pretty much automatically. And that gives us a pretty low chance of being able to actually tick the box of effectively having addressed that item. So liberating structures offer a collection of tools. Instead of just these 5 Stone Age tools that you see there up on the screen, you get yourself 33 different patterns for how to address any individual topic. And these are patterns that work very well for both online meetings as well as offline meetings. If you ever have the luxury of being able to hang out in meet space, They work super great there. Work super great. I mean, we've been hosting a practice session here in the Gravity DAO and the TEC since February. Shout out to Gravity. There's also good stuff going on there. So these patterns, liberating structures, anybody can learn how to use them. And that's kind of the trick of it, is in order to have that optionality of having a choice about how you want to address subjects, you first have to understand how to use the tools. And 33 patterns is quite a few. We can narrow that down to about 16. But the point is that the learning, practicing, and use of these tools for shared thinking is itself a common good. The tools themselves are commons. They're published under Creative Commons copyright, attribution, non-competition, non-commercial. One of the more open yet rigid Creative Commons copyrights. So anybody can go to the website liberatingstructures.com, and literally every piece of information that's in the book, this book, because it's always here, The Surprising Power of Liberating Structures. All of this content is on the website at liberatingstructures.com. It's just an issue of, practicing and learning. And so there's a pretty big scene of about 10,000 different participants spread out throughout the planet that one could say is a soft DAO, meaning that there's no nonprofit organization, there's no center at the Liberating Structures community of practice, just the common good that are the practices themselves. And all of these. Awesome. So all of the action comes from the edge and comes from participants like myself. So there's about 200 different user groups or practice groups that are spread out all over the planet. And I kind of look at this idea around sparking up a commons for the Liberating Structures community as a bit of a play on kind of the retroactive funding of the public goods that is the creation of this community and the development of this scene over the last 10 years. Bam!
Cool. Thank you for that, Jeremy. And please make sure if you have questions for Liberating Structures or what the Commons will do, or any questions for Jeremy himself, please drop them in the Commons prize channel on our Discord. And Nick, I see that you're here. Would you like to present Unmonopolizable Therapies Commons next?
Yeah, sure. I'll give it a shot. So how do do I share my screen and go to the website, or is that controlled by you guys?
Well, both Griff and I are sharing screens. Maybe one of us can share the token log and the other one can share the website. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Let's see if we could find the website too. Okay.
Yep. It's crowdfundingcures.org. So this is so the video that we inserted. It's more of it was a discussion at the DeSci event in Amsterdam at ETH Amsterdam. So that's a bit of a presentation from Sava, our founder there. So crowdfunding cures in a nutshell, what we're trying to do is to incentivize the development of clinical trials, or the funding of clinical trials, to develop repurposed generics. So these generics are drugs that have been developed previously by companies, and then there's no incentive mechanisms within the pharmaceutical industry to develop those drugs. So there's tens of thousands of potential compounds that could be used to target different indications. If you're familiar with the drug development program, you have about $1 to $2 billion being put into a new chemical entity or a new biological entity with 10 to 15 years of development time, with a 90% chance of failure rate. So there's a lot of money that goes into developing drugs, a lot of time with very low chance of success. What we're trying to do is to pivot away from that model, go towards the drugs that have already been out that have already been developed. And we're also looking at plant medicine like cannabis, as well as psychedelics, and to find ways to kind of circumvent the patent system and develop those what we like to call as public goods medicines. So those medicines that have already been funded by the taxpayer, because a lot of the academic programs that science labs and pharmaceutical companies leverage that's being funded by taxpayers. So that's the connection between society and all the taxpayers within a society, global society, and the drug development space. There's a lot that can be said. We can dive into the whole mechanics of things, but it's really just a new way to collectively empower communities like patient advocacy groups or patient groups to pull together resources and fund these kind of programs. So you can read more about that in the Commons Prize GitHub, as you can see here. And if there's any, we're already partnering. As you can see, you'll see a few DAOs that are listed there. We're already partnering with Vita DAO, Lab DAO, Molecule, for example, to facilitate these open source pharma NFT bounties, which will then be used to tackle specific indications or therapeutic areas.
Okay, super. We still have about a minute left. Maybe I could just ask one question, which is like, how many medicines would you say fall into this open source category today?
We are so we basically don't care. We're just providing a platform. Of course, we'll have to, in the beginning, focus on specific indications that might have the most impact. So, and that also fit within this model. So we could look at mental health. We could look at like depression, for example, and using psychedelics. Although what we can do also is not only develop, let's say, like these bounties for specific therapeutics or chemicals or biologics, but we can also take data and treatment, like data from treatment regimens from holistic or integrated medical approaches, and then put that into like an NFT or NFT. So we can look at a lot of different things: diabetes, mental health, etc. We're basically open to any kind of any element.
Cool. Thank you so much for that, Nick.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. And if you have any questions for Nick or for Unmonopolizable Therapies Commons, or you want to vote for it, you can vote for it on Token Log right now. And any questions, please drop in the Commons Prize channel. So maybe we go on to the next person. John, do you have 4 minutes today, like a full time to present Refi DAO? I'll pass the floor to you.
Thanks, Tam. Awesome stuff, liberating structures, and crowdfunding cures is exactly why I wanted to be here. Check out what everybody's doing. My name's John Ellison. I am working on a project called Refi DAO off the back of a journey initially at Klima and then Toucan. And basically, we're applying for Commons Prize to be a part of this community. Whether it's the best fit for this, we don't know. We want to be here to share what we're up to with you and let you decide. In effect, at the intersection of climate action and Web3 is a huge opportunity. The folks at A16Z think it's a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity, as do folks at Cello. But the reality is, this is the opportunity to redesign money and heal the earth. And there are some really complex tensions that happen as a result of the incentives of this extractive economy coming together with this regenerative one. And what we're looking at doing is trying to create a couple core kind of DeFi primitives that can unlock a new level of coordination in this space. One of them is a kind of Refi ID that could be open sourced and used in any DAO or community to allow people who join a DAO to disclose their identity and information to a kind of trusted circle. You could leverage something like zero knowledge proofs to make that privacy wall and secure for people outside, and effectively allow them to create an economic alignment with everyone in this community. We're thinking of doing a kind of continuous token swap in the form of a voluntary tax, where a member can say, I'm going to give X% of every transaction that goes through this wallet into the DAO, into this common good, into this treasury. And then in return, the protocol would basically issue them tokens that gives them a voice in how this capital is deployed. And what we want to do for this second primitive is basically create a kind of decentralized impact protocol for allowing people to say, hey, we want to create a proposal to say that this particular on-chain behavior has impact for the DAO, for our movement. And in our case, it might be carbon-related protocols saying, we want to burn BCT and get this stuff out of the system. Well, we also want to incentivize people putting liquidity towards super high quality carbon credits to really change the narrative about the on-chain carbon market being used to finance regeneration. And this is just a specific example in our community about how the combination of a kind of digital ID or passport and a series of impact gauges could allow people to really create a kind of like meta coordination layer on top of a movement to incentivize behaviors across organizations that ultimately help fulfill a shared objective. We're looking really closely at liquidity as a public good, because everybody knows this stuff is the backbone and the lifeblood of DeFi, but this could also be spun out into loads of different areas as the world of Web3 is starting to eat up all sorts of different off-chain activities. And so yeah, that's kind of on the financial capital and the common side. We're doing stuff along the intellectual and experiential side, but I think there's enough to unpack there with the refi ID and these impact gauges for now. And ultimately, we just love to collaborate with all the brilliant people in this space and figure out what we can do together. So thanks for your time today, and look forward to hearing from everybody else.
Cool. Thanks so much for that, John. My Discord's acting a little wonky, but I think it's working. Okay. Cool. Thanks so much for that. Anyone has a question for John and Refi DAO, please hop on to the Commons Prize channel and ask away, or you could drop questions in the issue in the GitHub issue itself. And I think we can keep moving right along.
That's a lot of votes.
Say that again.
It just looks like a lot of votes, but maybe I misunderstood the quadratic voting model. But yeah, thanks.
Yeah, cool. I think that there's a lot of people who are passionate about regenerative finance and Web3 and crypto. Yeah, you probably have a lot of fans. Great, cool. So maybe move on to the next one. Bread Chain and Blockchain Socialist. Let's see where we have Bread. If you want to take 4 minutes and present Bread Chain Commons to the people on this call and the people who will watch it later.
Sure. So essentially, Bread Chain is a collective federation of different decentralized and cooperative projects that are looking to forge solidarity by using sort of blockchains as sort of a basis for that. So sort of the purpose of collectivizing our various efforts is to create the cooperative economy. So as opposed to a centralized corporation, which is owned by a few shareholders, we're more interested in cooperatives in which they are sort of entities that are owned by those who work on it. To make an economy around that. And one of the ways that we plan to do that is through creating what we call our first solidarity primitive. So in DeFi, you may have heard of financial primitives, but we kind of like to think of ours as solidarity primitives, where we're creating essentially what you can think of as the engine for funding post-capitalist projects on the blockchain, which is also at the same time a digital local currency. So I go into a lot of detail in the video. I probably don't have enough time to go through exactly how everything works, but essentially it's a smart contract that forwards your DAI into a lending pool, and then you get in collateral for that, allowing Bread Chain to collect the interest that's generated from it. You get collateral one-to-one a Bread token, and that Bread token acts as what you can think of as like a digital local currency. Digital as in crypto, but local not as in local geographic sense, but local as in shared values and shared principles. So on our websites, the front page, our principles are mutual aid, dual power, economic democracy, and transparent governance. But so we're building this crowd staking is the name of what we call the application, this crowd staking application to sort of facilitate this local digital currency, which also will sort of passively fund our efforts through it, through the yield of your DAI. And then we will sort of be able to, what we want to do is sort of like build on top of that. So with the Commons prize, what we would like to see is we would like to explore the use of the Bread token as a reserve asset for various augmented bonding curves. So I think one of the ways in which we're sort of incentivized to maximize our return on our lent out DAI is by having, well, a lot of it minted, so a lot of Dai into the pool, and also having it in the form of bread for longer, rather than having people burn their bread to create their Dai back. So one of the perks of being someone who creates bread is that you can always burn it to turn it back into Dai, so you're never like locked into, you know, our token. You can always return it back. And of course, the price doesn't fluctuate because it's just Dai, which is pegged to the dollar. And so and this is how we generate sort of passively income through that. And so by using bread as a reserve asset in different augmented bonding curves for various commons that we would like to sort of create through the bread chain network, I think it would help grow bread as like as a reserve asset for one. And it would sort of allow us to double dip our earnings. So you can double dip in terms of earnings in the creation of augmented bonding curves, in which, you know, you have like the taxes of going in and out of the common pool, and then you also have the interest that's generated through the bread token yield. And so by like doing this double dipping and by facilitating these various commons that we would like, sort of like a bottom-up approach into allowing the creation of these commons, we can explore, expand sort of the cooperative economy on the blockchain, and sort of, you know, whenever we think about decentralization, sometimes we forget the fact that a lot of the organizations that we're working under are also quite centralized, and begin to explore more decentralized alternatives.
I have so many questions. I'm going to drop them in the channel.
Which channel are the questions in? Sorry.
In the Commons Prize channel, we're asking people to drop their questions in the Commons Prize channel. We should have some time for Q&A at the end, but we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to present before we start going into Q&A.
Okay.
And we have 3 more nominations to present, and I think we will go with, I have on my list, Web3 designers and Marco. So welcome, Marco. And I just want to share the token log. So if you want to vote for Web3 designers, it's right here in token log. And I'll pass the floor to you, Marco.
Thanks, Sam. I mean, hearing all these nominations, they're so amazing. Yeah, Liberating Structure, amazing. Glad to have you here. I used them a couple of years ago, so really, really great. Refi stuff. Everybody is passionate about refi, and they're gonna get a lot of support. That's amazing. Well, I'm also passionate about refi, but I'm also passionate about design, and you know, because good design and good user experience is critical to building, you know, successful products, even more in the Web3 space. I come from the Web3 Designers DAO, and the mission of Web3 Designers was actually in the beginning to onboard Web2 designers into the Web3 space and provide them a chance to start working for organizations. Like, we were sort of like a matchmaking service for these people. At first, like kind of recruiting, and then sending them towards some organizations and companies in the Web3 space to gain some more knowledge and so on and so forth. But since then, our community grew. We have over 1,000 people, and every day are coming more and more. And so we kind of like wanted to start providing more formal education for these people, and then to be able to train them to become better Web3 designers. And so, and also push the whole field of design, Web3 design, further, because everything is quite new. You know, we're building new stuff with technology, but ultimately end users will have to use these products, and we need good design standards. And it shouldn't be like the last thing of on our list, as it was before, back in the days. And so that's our mission. We want to provide onboarding, education, and then also hiring, or sending these people forward to organizations and companies in the Web3 space. The reason I nominated us was because we are at the stage where we want to build a commons around that. We want to use the tools I participated in the DEC Commons building, and I'm familiar with the process and experienced that, and so I thought like this would be a really great fit for us, for the whole design community. We have I wouldn't say like a big coordination problem currently, because a lot of OG designers are spread across the whole Web3. We have a lot of resources, we have a lot of knowledge, we have a lot of people who are hungry for that knowledge and these resources, but we just didn't had I don't know, tools or ways to coordinate better up until now, where I think like we could, with this, with winning this prize and going through the whole process, we could build a pretty good commons and solve these problems. And this would definitely benefit the whole Web3 community and not just us. So yeah, that's it for now. If anyone has any questions, you got to answer.
Cool, excellent. And we'll save questions for the end and drop them in the Common Prize channel so we can collect them and ask them towards the end. Looks like we will have plenty of time, and also people are being shy, and there's got to be some questions that we have for these amazing presentations that we've just seen. Okay, so moving on, we will go to Grael to present to DAO, and I'll just bring up to DAO. Here it is. All right. Oh, yeah, the rain in the back.
Yeah, sorry, it's just that.
Okay, floor is yours.
Okay, well, I'm not going to repeat. I've done. I actually like. I would invite you to watch the videos. I also, if you go to the GitHub page, I linked in when I talked about it in the last one. I'm just going to go through this real quick because I would actually kind of rather have some time for discussion afterwards if we could get through them all. Basically, tricycle drivers around here do public transportation. So what I'm advocating is that we set up like a DAO or a commons that basically we will install an energy saving device that saves the driver fuel costs every day. And then that money gets fed into a pool, like basically a fund, an investment fund that they can then vote on via governance token. So that's the gist of it. I would love to be able to teach these people how to harness the power of negawatts, which is the term coined by Amory Levins of the Rocky Mountain Institute 10-15 years ago. Yeah, so that's the gist of it. I've presented already, so I'll just burn through fast. Yeah, I would love your vote. I'd love to work on this. I have every bit of confidence in the guy who invented these devices. He's been doing it. I was hoping he would have a video testimonial of a guy who did it 5 years ago, and the huge difference in pollution that it makes for the vehicles, including bigger vehicles like cars and trucks. I've been working with the academic institutions here, the State University, and one of the biggest universities as well, the Department of Philosophy, Electronics Engineering. I would love to have your vote so that we can try and make this happen for Filipinos, and I'm sure other countries with that also operate rickshaws and tuk-tuks and stuff like that. Thanks. So I didn't hear that. You might have been on mute.
Yeah,
or maybe
yeah. Cool. Thanks for that. That was a really excellent presentation, and the YouTube video does go into a lot of details too. If anyone wants to have a look and ask any questions you might have for Grael. And
there are some in the comments below as well. So feel free to go through that. The inventor of the device, he made some comments as well and links.
Cool. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, then we have Juanca and Gravity DAO, who will be the last to present. And I'll pass the floor to you, Juanca.
Thanks, Tam. Well, first I want to say that the video that we put for the nomination is really bad, but there is a lot of information, and I will be trying to upload some links into this nomination so that there is more easy access to all the information on Gravity. But with Gravity, what I think that would be a good experience to make a commons is because conflict management experiences from the tragedy of the commons, because everyone can benefit from a more competent culture around conflict management, but because everyone can benefit from this, no one actually takes care of this. And that's why if we make a public good and we make a commons out of conflict management, we can become a shelling point for good practices and standards around conflict management, and in that way impact the culture, because we understand that the Web3 movement has an opportunity to impact on the culture of the world, but the technology itself is not going to do it. And because of the level of specialization of DAOs, not all DAOs are going to have time and resources to develop their own conflict management system. So we want to be that shelling point that is able to provide toolings and further sustain and advance the field of conflict management for having a less violent culture, and especially in DAOs, because we also see DAOs as a new shape of institutions, and if we don't work for the conflict management on DAOs, it's very possible that we will be reproducing and continuing an abusive culture. So it's also a good thing that can make the cultural structure of DAOs more robust and foster the inclusion, because when you enter into a place and you know that there are rules against abuse, you feel more comfortable to participate. And what we have seen also by opening to receive conflicts is that, at least my experience was initially around alternative dispute resolution and conflict between two people, but there is a lot of conflict and internal conflict in the DAO space and in our everyday life. So learning and building a commons to develop a more resilient culture and to foster better coordination between people, peaceful coordination, will eventually help to the projects to achieve their goals, and that we don't get distracted by small things, but also that we stop reproducing violence and in our pattern and in our structures.
Okay, wow. Give a hand to everyone who has presented today. Those were really, really exceptional. I'll go back to Token Log and just refresh to see if anyone's had the chance to vote while we're on this call. While we're in the voting party, do take some time and vote for the nominations that are here today and the ones that aren't as well. So I don't see any questions, or I'm going to start asking questions. And if you have questions, please feel free to jump in or to drop your question in the channel itself. But the first question that I asked, and Blockchain Socialist has already replied to it, was, is Bread Chain Network currently live? And can you give me some examples of post-capitalist projects? So this is for Blockchain Commons.
Yeah, so I answered that a bit in the channel, but basically, so when you say, sometimes the wording gets a bit confusing, but when I say Bread Chain Network, I kind of refer to like there's Bread Chain, which is like sort of the central hub where where like these different alternative thinking post-capitalist projects sort of are able to meet up, and we sort of like provide support via sharing of like the interest that's yielded through the crowd staking application, and then as well like providing support in various other ways. So when I say the network, that sort of includes the other projects that are part of that. So I mentioned a couple of them, includes Pact DAO, which is a mutual aid network based in New York City. So there's an organization called Pact, and basically they started off just as sort of accepting donations from people, especially during the Black Lives Matter movement, in which they would use that money to give directly to very local organizations to New York City. So I think a lot of people were sort of annoyed or like dissatisfied with the way that a lot of the different charity systems were working, and so they provided a way for people to give more locally within New York City. And then Labor DAO is another one, which they're sort of exploring how to use blockchain for assisting the labor movement, especially in the United States. So they're sort of exploring how to create strike funds for workers who are thinking about going on strike in various places, how to support the Starbucks union, the Amazon labor union that was recently created. And so they're working on that. But then I guess the crowd staking application that I was talking about, that should be done. We're hoping to get it out by the end of the month. I provided a link, the staging link. So you can already, if you want to mint bread, it's all on Polygon, so it's very, very cheap. You can mint bread and just test it out if you guys choose to. I would love to get your feedback on it. It's meant to be super, super simple to use, and meant for people who like don't use DeFi applications all the time and yet are still able to figure it out. And yeah, that should be done hopefully by the end of the month. And then, so like the point here is that we want to, once we're about done with this solidarity primitive, and now we want to begin exploring the use of it. And I think in the place when it comes to the common stack and the sort of the builds that you guys have, or the structures that you guys are building out, augmented bonding curves are really, really interesting to us. And I think tapping into our network to sort of look for people from the ground up, or with the other projects that are already sort of currently existing, to get them to use or to create an augmented bonding curve, or a commons market maker, I've also heard it referred to, while using the bread token as a reserve asset, I think would be really, really interesting for us. It could sort of kickstart a real way that we can passively keep wealth within this more cooperatively minded economy, to grow out those types of projects, rather than just your standard DeFi project. Not that there's nothing wrong with that.
Cool. Thanks. Thanks for sharing that. And maybe the next question I'll ask is liberating structures. And Jeremy, what kinds of proposals would this Commons fund? How can you support liberating structures with the Commons?
Wait, what?
What kind of proposals can you imagine this liberating structures Commons would support? Where would the funding that they raise be applied?
That's a ridiculously good question. So there's a couple. Yeah, there's a couple things that I can speak of that are particularly interesting. So in terms of, I think about it in terms of tooling and enablement. Let me get my face back on there. So basically the whole idea is to help everyone learn, practice, and use liberating structures. So first and foremost, on the learning forefront, one of the proposals that we're actually prototyping right now is around proof of learning. Since each liberating structure itself is a tool that has a specific learning curve, we can document that with a combination of either NFTs or NFTs plus attestations to basically help people keep track of where they are in their learning journey, and use attestations in addition to have some form of like peer-to-peer, like, hey, I saw you do this thing, so that we can help develop credibility in that learning journey. So just documenting the learning journey by itself is a powerful tool that helps people keep track of their progress and recognize what they have left to learn. And then the more we can do that, the more we can enable not only liberating structures practitioners to be familiar with the Web3 toolkit, have a wallet, this is how it works, these are NFTs, in ways in which are very different from their stereotypical expectations of, Giga Chad degen lifestyle, that actually offer them legit utility. But also, then we can also have a set of tooling for Web3 natives to enable them to make use of and learn how to use these tools for distributed cognition. So that's one particular example that I would go, yeah, for sure, that's already happening. If we had some resources, we could actually make that happen fast.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that, Jeremy. I'm encouraging people to drop questions in the Commons Prize channel, or I have tons of questions, so we can keep going. Does anyone else on the Commons Stack team or Entrusted Seed members have any questions they want to ask?
Yeah, I would love. I know for Marco, the Web3 designers team or Discord is like popping. I'm wondering how many members are there, and like, do they know that this event is happening? And like, are they going to? Let's say that it got going. How many people do you think would be interested in pushing this forward and participating?
Yeah, thanks. I did answer your question in the chat, but I'm going to answer it here. 1,028 people just looked into that. 34%. We got new members every I think week or on a weekly basis or something like that. So it's pretty much growing. A lot of people are coming here because they know like this is the place where they can find designers who will be able to help them and lead them in the a good direction, and also find some of the resources. How many people will get involved? I don't know. We have a Celestial Council, 5 members right now. This is like the core team. I know there are a lot of OGs out there with whom I'm already also in contact and collaborating, though they're super busy. But anyway, I think like when we start something like that, more formal, people would be able to contribute some of their time to this. And on top of that, a lot of people from the community are asking how to get involved. So we kind of like set up like a DevWork board right now where people can contribute with their skills. We currently don't have any funding outside the Panvala Coalition and Gitcoin grants, which is really, really low. Who cares about design? There are more interesting stuff out there we're going to fund. But anyway, so everybody's doing for free, which is also fine and it's great. But yeah, we have a lot of people interested in contributing. How many will be interested? I know that we will need working groups formed later on. I'm sure over 1,000 members counting and more every day. I'm sure there will be people who will be able to dedicate their time to that. But I'm going to do a temperature check anyway. So.
Cool. It is a huge community. And I have another question about Web3 designers, actually. What do Web3 designers need most? How would you imagine what would be the first few projects that would be funded if this is the Commons?
Yeah, so my education. I think education is super important right now. I'm doing that on my own, and I'm going to provide all the resources for free. I want to give that everything for free to be that a public good, but be able to kind of like fund our work somehow, whatever. So I think online courses, resources, collections of resources. We're currently working on a Web3 design starter pack, something we can hand over to a newbie to just get into the Web3, learn about all that, because a lot of the information is scattered around the internet. They don't know where to start. So these are the first couple of things that we want to initiate, and then create some sort of a education portal, hub, academy, name, whatever. So that's number one. And then the second one would probably be I think something around enhancing our matchmaking and collaborating with other organizations in the space and companies to direct these people in the proper way.
Cool.
And I'm sure there will be others. Another one which just came to me, and I think it's one of also super important, is setting some standards, like doing research. Something that happened on in ETH Amsterdam. I wasn't there, but I was like the Web3 design group, open source Web3 design, got together, and the spontaneously they formed like a small research group around wallets and portability of user information, and so I think like more and more these small groups will pop up, where designers figure out through user research, and then contribute to the overall to creation of new Web3 UX and design standards. Of course, together with the people, the developers who are writing these things. So yeah, I think like that's also one of the areas where we'll have projects.
Cool. Thanks for that, Marco. And maybe if there's, jump in.
Yeah, I have a question for Grail. So, hey Grail, so I'm Ivy, I'm also from the Philippines. So my question is similar with Griff's question to Marco. Maybe my question is like, I know there are a lot of TODA groups across the country, and they already have like a particular location in mind to start the DAO with, and who are like the stakeholders, and how do you plan to coordinate this the participants in the in the DAO that you're proposing?
Okay, mic check, you can hear me? Okay, cool. Okay, so I live in Calamba, Laguna, which is about an hour south of Manila. I spent my first few years just a little bit south of that in San Tomas, Batangas. I've got a strong relationship with Batangas State University, the VP of R&D for Batangas State University. We've done projects in the past. This video is in Malabon, which is near Quezon City, so that's like the big metro. And Quezon, so that's where Engine Ecology is. That's where those guys are based. And I've also got a strong relationship with the philosophy department of De La Salle, which is the Taft branch in Manila. So those are my strongest connections right now. And I've been a member of the Rotary Club of Calamba for 4 years now. So that's where I've got the strongest like community relationships. The mayor of Calamba, the one who just won, and also the outgoing mayor, they've both been members of our Rotary Club for many years. And so that's what I can do in terms of boots on the ground here. But if you would like to basically take what we're working from and do it where you're I'm not sure where you're located, or Frischel down in Mindanao. I think this being a Web3 project, we would want to be kind of doing it in a way where what is working, we kind of build as a collaborative project. And I would hope, like, TODAs are very geographically restricted today. Like, they're very tied to the city that they're in, and they're actually only allowed to move around in a certain geographical area. But if we're talking about people buying into like an investment fund, I would consider that to be something that could very easily be national in scope. And like as an investment fund that people can vote on, are we going to do like a college fund, some college scholarships for our children? Are we going to do health benefits? Are we going to start rotating our tricycles towards electric, which is something I would love to advocate to them, but I wouldn't presume to be a voter. The Philippine government just passed a bicameral bill between the Senate and Congress, mandating that 10% of electric vehicle fleets transition to electric. I think they said per year, but I don't know if they generally speaking, they don't move that fast. But it is like a law that just passed. So yeah, those are some of the balls that are in play. But if you're in the Philippines and you like the idea, I'd be more than happy to kind of work on a plan with you that makes sense for your area as well.
Yeah, I'm actually based in Batangas, and I know some people from Batangas State University. So yeah, I'll connect with you and see you.
Where in Batangas?
In Bawan, Batangas.
Oh, okay, I'm in Calatagan right now, so not very far away.
Cool. So we only have 3 minutes left, and maybe with those 3 minutes, I want to say welcome Diogo, Jay, and Knut. Diogo J is with Food Forest Commons, and Knut is with the Cyber Physical Commons for Open Guitar. And we may not have enough time or we don't have enough time for you guys both to present today. I hope you can join the next one. We were asking questions for the nominees that were able to present today. And I have one more question for Unmonopolizable Therapies Commons. And that is, how long has this initiative been going on? Where did it start?
Yeah, so it's been around since 2013 as a nonprofit charity from Sava Kurtimilidis. He's a IP patent lawyer. And I joined the team back in, well, let's say late 2021, and then started full time with them just like a month or two ago. So really kicking into gear. I come from the molecular medicine background, but now moving more into like the healthcare commercialization space of drug development. So it's quite a chunky project, but lots to tackle. So it's really cool to chill the project a bit and get in touch with all y'all and see what you are up to as well. Really cool. Love what everyone's doing. Really awesome stuff. So yeah, feel free to get in touch with me if there's any questions, if you want to learn more. We're still like super early, so a lot to work on.
Cool. And then does anyone else have any questions? I still have questions, but Griff, go.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, how do you imagine this commons working with VitaDAO?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to be partnering up with VitaDAO to launch. I mean, we already established a partnership with them to fund this rapamycin, repurposed rapamycin longevity study. So we're looking to raise a bit more funding for that, and then we're going to help support grad staff study on that. And then if any other longevity-related therapeutics are close to clinical development, then we'll see how we could fund that through the patient communities or private investor community through the token and or NFT that we'll launch at some point to get those moving along. So that's the crowdfunding element with crypto will play a major part in allocating resources towards whichever projects seem to be the most interesting.
Cool. We are at the top of the hour, and I'd like to say thank you, Jeremy with Liberating Structures, Nick with Unmonopolizable Therapies Commons, John with Refi DAO, Blockchain Socialist with Breadchain, Marco with Web3 Designers, Grael nominating 2DAO, and Juanca nominating Gravity DAO. It's been really excellent and very informative to hear all of you guys speaking about these projects and hopes for the future commons. And that's it for today. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Feel free to go and vote. Go and vote on Token Log. And if you have any questions, the Commons channel or the issues themselves.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot,
everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.